Hello everybody, this is Stan from Stanny G Tech, and today I'm going to make another tutorial for Alina as well as for everyone who wants to learn Java and who is seeking help with Java. I'm trying to make my tutorials and explain stuff the easiest way possible so you guys can understand what I'm talking about in simple terms, because programming in general could be complicated, but when you think the way the computer thinks, it makes the life easier, right? So today we're going to talk about, last time we talked about classes and how you use classes and how you build classes, and then from those classes how you use those classes to basically create an instance of an object. So in this tutorial, we're going to talk about how can you use inheritance in such a way that you could, basically inheritance is used for code reusability. So when you have a base class already made and you want to use another class which is a type of that class that the base class is, but you want to add some stuff to it. For example, you have a base class named animal, right? And then animal would have animal type, animal name, age, or some variables, right? Some attributes to it, and some methods. So the animal sound, for example, right? Now, what you can do, you can write another class or subclass or child class from that parent class. It's called base class or parent class, and the classes underneath that would be inherited from this class would be called child classes or subclasses, right? So if you want to use that animal class and create a dog, for example, right? So what you can do is inherit the methods from this class. So you will not have to retype the whole entire new class, the constructors, everything. You use the constructors to construct your object, but you will not have to write the whole entire, things, the methods and everything. You can just use, you can collect all methods from all those 3 or 4 classes that you write, including the base class, and you can just use that in the program. So you will not have to have a separate class for animal, then separate class for dog, and separate class for cat, and separate class for pig. That would make people typing code over and over again. So this is when we use inheritance. So let's open up the assignment and actually read this through, and hopefully this all makes sense once we start working on this assignment here. So pretty much what we need to do is we need to construct or create 3 classes in total, but the base class is going to be a ship class. So it says, basically it tells you what you need to do. You need to create 3 ships, or 2 ships in this case, from the base class named ship, right? So you have a ship and you need to create 2 types of this ships, right? So this all makes sense. So let's read this together. So ship, cruise ship, and cargo ship classes. First thing we need to do is, as usual, we read the assignment. So we read, design a ship class that has, he probably skipped the word has, the following members. And you read the members, right? So let's just do this. So I already opened my NetBeans program. So what we need to do is we need to create a new project. Now, when by default, when you create the project, you name it something. You name your program something, and it creates a class, right, for you at the beginning. And then under it, it creates a main program. So since the first class that we need to do, which we see by the assignment here, makes sense that the ship class is going to be our main or base class, and those classes are going to be of a type ship. So the first class we create or make a program create for us is going to be ship. So the whole package, the whole software package would sit in a folder called ship, because that's the main thing. So we rename this one to ship. And watch. Oh, wait. cancel. Let's do this again. So create a new one. I typed ship in not in the correct space. Ship. Okay, so click finish, and look what's going to happen is going to create a class named ship for us. Now, when you create classes, usually you use separate files to create classes because you don't want to use the same file to create a class in the program, because that makes the class not reusable, because the class is going to be only working but that specific program, right? So you want to just write classes by themselves. So for that, you use basically files, and the files have to reside within the same package. So see, it says package ship. So all the files that you add is going to be in the same package. In that way, the programmer is going to be able to see, the main programmer is going to be able to see all the classes and use, you know, the data that those classes contain, right? So to start working with this, I'll just remove the main program from here. So for that, I use the little markers here to determine where my curly brackets, you know, where the scope of a program starts and when it ends. So the scope of a class starts right here and ends right here. So this I can just remove. Excuse me. I can just remove this, right? So now we have with the basic signature of a class. Now we go through and read the assignment. Design a ship class that has the following members: a field for the name of the ship, a field for the year that the ship was built, a string, and it tells you that it's a string and string constructor, a true string method. So basically, as in the previous lecture, we go through and create the members. Now, there's something about the inheritance and a access modifiers within this inheritance. You can open W3 schools and read about access modifiers, because this is the easiest place to actually find out about, you know, all that. So to go to the, you know, W3 schools, you click on Learn Java or select Java, Learn Java, and here you can just select the menu, and you can find pretty much all we need. Inheritance. This is what it tells about the inheritance here. So subclass, superclass. Superclass is a parent. I said the base class or superclass. Superclass is actually the parent class, and subclass is actually the child class. I said something. I said that the base class is a parent. Well, they call it the parent, but also they call it superclass. So superclass is the highest in hierarchy. So it's a main parent class that you use, and subclass is a child class, right? So here you see the examples. It's pretty good actually, pretty good website. So we're looking for access modifiers. So I'm trying to find keywords maybe. So here are your keywords, and you can find the protected. And so basically what we're trying to think about right now, we need to declare, if you look back to the class, right, we need to declare our variables or attributes, right? So there are a couple ways to do them. They're public, right? They could be public, but then anybody could access them and modify them and basically break them, right? You don't want that to happen. Well, we used private in the previous lecture, and it makes sense. We use private. No one can access it, only through access get and set methods, right? But in this class, since we're going to be inheriting from this class, we need to use something weaker than the private, right? And for this, we use something that's called protected. And if we refer to the glossary here, we read about protected, an access modifier used for attributes, methods, and constructors, making them accessible in the same package of the and subclass. And the private, an access modifier used for attributes, methods, and constructors, making them only accessible within the declared class. Now, we don't want, we want to inherit from this class. If we put something that's private in this class, it's going to be only visible or available to use in this ship class. But since we have other two classes, right, we want to be able to protect it, but then we want to use it in the other classes. So here we use protected. So to start, right, to start with, we're going to create variables, right? So declaring fields attributes. So what do we need in this one? We need a field for the name of the ship, a string, and a field for the year that the ship was built. So two strings, right? So protected string ship name and protected string year built. Okay, so we have that. So next thing, we need the constructor. Now, here's something that I found important to say about this. Any class you write, you want to have something that's called the default constructor. Default constructor doesn't have any arguments in there. And default constructor is used when you don't want to make a customized object. So in other words, if you want to make an object that already has a name, and already has a year built, and already has the other attributes, right, other arguments, that will be accustomed to that particular object. But when you want to create just a blank object, you know, that's why you call a default constructor, which is to simply make an object for you, and then you can assign whatever you want to assign to it, right? So for this purpose, since you don't know what the program is going to require, you don't know how you're going to use the program, you just want to throw a default constructor in there. It doesn't hurt. It will not break the code. It will not cause errors. The main program that you're going to use is going to call the constructor that you want to call, and you can just choose the constructor you want to call. You want to call default, then you call default. If you want to call the constructor with the arguments, you call that one, right? So we're going to create a default constructor, and the default constructor is just a simple thing. It says public, and we call this ship, right? No arguments. Of course, since there's no arguments, since there are no arguments, you're not gonna match anything in here, right? But we need a specific constructor. Now, since we imagine to consider that we don't have the main program written yet. We don't know how to use it. We have no idea what we're gonna use in that constructor, in that custom constructor. We can just deal with you know, the default constructor, or we can create whatever we have in here. So we have those values. We can create the constructor to construct those values. Straightforward, right? So let's make that. So we do public, we call it public ship. This is hold on. This is a default constructor, and we need a custom. I'll call it a custom constructor, or a constructor with arguments, right? Now I can call custom. Custom. Or argument constructor, whatever you want to call it, right? I'm gonna just call it custom, because it is custom. If you think about it, it is custom. So, of course, you want to leave some space. Custom, I'll create public ship, and I'll give this one 2 arguments. I'll give it a string ship name and string year built. year build, right? So now we need to match this dot ship name. I just click on it so I don't type equals ship name, and this dot ship name. If I only type right, ship name, okay, and this dot. What else we have? Year build equals year build. All right. So we have this custom constructor, right? Then it tells us what else we need. We need a so we have constructors. We need a toString method that displays the ship's name and the year it was built. So pretty much, what is toString method? So of course you can do a custom message system.out that println this ship was built in, and request something from the user to type in or read some data, or read stuff from the constructor, right? Just you can display it as in previous. But what if you want to print the object itself? So you don't want to print something that is already hard coded. You want to just read whatever the object has, whatever the data the object has, right? So for this, you use a toString method. So you're pretty much asking the computer to read stuff that is stored in memory. So now if you don't use the toString method and you just print the object itself, so if you create a class, main class, and you try to create a say ship s1 equals new ship, and then you say system.out.println ship, or s1 rather. You want to print in s1, right, with all those variables, values, right? It's not gonna print the year build, the ship name. What's gonna build is what's gonna print is the memory address, because the only thing it sees that it can type out or print out is the address and memory in it. So obviously you don't need the address and memory. You need the actual thing that this object contains, right? That this object contains. So for this purpose, we create a toString method that's going to convert. It's going to look into the object. What data does the object contain? And it's going to print it out. So to do a toString method, it's really easy. So we'll call it toString, or we can say creating a toString method to display the ship's name and the year it was built. Alright, now the easiest, that's the only way actually to do it. The way we do this is we say public, since the method is going to be public, and of course the toString method is always of a type string, so it's going to be string, and string to string. So we call this method right here. It's already somewhere in the system, so the computer knows it. So we call toString method. We call the toString method, right? And we return Now we return the string. Now we actually build the string, but we don't have to say system.out.print this year model is blah blah blah. This this ship's name is blah blah blah. All you have to do is just print out the objects. One step we missed, actually, before we continue with this, one step that we missed is creating a accessors and mutators for this one. So create, I'll just write accessors. So we don't make mutators because we're not setting any values here to anything. So accessors, and we're gonna so since there are two things that are protected, right, we need to access them. So we write the accessor method. So we put right in public, and it's going to be a string get ship name and oops, and we're going to return the ship name. And we're gonna also make another one, public, and public string to get year build. I'm gonna return the year build. All right. So you want to make sure you create those. Yeah, I almost forgot about that. So back to the string method, right? So public string to string. So we call a toString method to return our objects. So we return not the objects. We return those things, right? The values of those are variables. So return ship name. Then we're gonna give it a space because otherwise when it returns it's gonna be all together, jammed all together. So you want to give it some space, and then you want to also return in that same string, you want to also return a year build. All right, ship name, ship name. All right, so that's pretty much how we do a toString method. So what's going to happen is going to go to this and read what it stores in this object. It's going to read, because this is just the variables. It's just a variable containing the value. So instead of making a we can, of course, you could do it the other way around. You can say system.out.println this ship's name is ship name. This year build is, or the year it was built is year build, right? You can do that. But the easiest and reusable way is just doing the toString method. You just write this toString method and it makes the line so small that you don't have to write system.out.println this ship was built in blah blah blah. This, it just makes the life easier, right? So now, since we've done this class, this completes this class, right? So we wrote our fields, right, or our attributes. We have two attributes, right, in this one. We created a default constructor. We created a custom or constructor with argument constructor. We created our accessors method. We created the method, the toString method that prints it out, right? So now it tells us design a cruise ship class. Now, let's read just this alone. Design a cruise ship class, right? So, all right. So by default, what you had to do is open up a new file, right? Open up a new file. So this is a class. And C says it's stored in ship package. So you code cruise ship. You call it cruise ship, right? Finish. So it's going to create a class cruise ship with type ship. And you would have to go through fields, but you would have to include those fields too. So that creates a hassle. You would have to retype those getters or access methods, this toString method. You would have to retype. You see how it has two protected variables here. You would have to retype them in this class here and all that stuff. But this inheritance thing makes it so easier that you would not have to retype a class after class after class, especially if it's the same type of a class. All you have to do really is, once you created this class, you type a keyword extends. Extends, if I typed it correctly, extends ship class, right? How do you write extends? Hold on one second. Cruise ship extends. Yeah, I wrote it correctly, right? So let me go back to ship to Java and check something else here. So it has everything here. So you have to check if it's in the same file. Yes, it is in the same file. See the hierarchy on the left. Now, what's wrong with this one? Hold on, let's see. W3 schools example, just to make sure that I'm not misspelled anything. Extends, so let's find this one. Extends vehicle. So I'm not sure what I've probably just making sure that everything is correct, guys. Hold on. Extends ship class. Curly brackets is here, so everything is good. Maybe I need to save this one. Should make sure the class names are correct. Ship. Alright, so I just want to make sure, because I already wrote this program, so I just want to make sure that it could be a program glitch, and just want to make sure that it works here. Yeah, there's misspelled. Somewhere misspelled in this. Oh, excuse me, something failed. Extend, yeah, extends. Here you go. It was a misspell on this thing. Okay, extends the ship. Now, so once we use the extends keywords, what happened is it's gonna take everything that is in this class, the ship class, and it's gonna be available in this class. So you will not have to retype those variables or those attributes in there, because you do need to use all the three classes all together. So if you don't want to use extents, if you don't want to use the inheritance, you would have to create a completely new class, call it cruise ship, and make, cruise ship name, cruise ship year build, cruise ship whatever else is required in here. Now, in this case, you don't have to use all that. So all you do is simply read the assignment. What is the requirement for the cruise ship? So all you have to add to cruise ship is a field for maximum number of passengers. It's going to be an int, and that's it. Then you use a constructor to create it, and then you use a toString method to print out the ship's name, which is going to be taken from the ship class. Is going to be taken from a ship class, right? And the maximum number of passengers is going to be taken from the cruise ship class, right? You see the difference? I mean, you don't have to create a completely new class with those ships' name, and it makes life easier, right, for coding. It makes the code reusable. So you pretty much reuse the parent class, grab the ship name from there, and then all you have to address here is the maximum number of passengers. It's going to be an int. So all you do here is, again, declaring fields attributes, and then you do. Now in this case, since you're basically inheriting from a parent class or superclass, right? You're inheriting from the ship class. You will not be inheriting from this class, and you do want to protect your variables here. So you use a private access modifier. Use private here. Private maximum max capacity max. What is it? Max passengers, right? So private int max passengers. Okay, and that's it. That's the only thing you need. So then what you want to do, you want a constructor, right? Of course you want the default constructor again, because you never know what you're going to use in the program, in the main program. So you want to throw in a default constructor. So and you just create a public ship, cruise ship. You want to create a public cruise ship, no arguments, and then you want to create a custom one. Just as far as you know that you only have in this thing is the maximum amount of passengers, right? So a custom is going to be public ship with the maximum amount of passengers. So int max passengers. All right. Passengers. Was a completely invalid method declaration returns a public cruise ship. Okay, public cruise ship, of course, because it's not the ship, it's a cruise ship, because the class name is cruise ship. So public cruise ship, And in here, you just pass one parameter, one argument, which is in max passengers, as far as you know, right? It's not. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that it's final. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't have to change things around in here. It's just you throwing in things as far as you know, what you know, because that comes handy afterwards. I'll show you. Okay, so. So we created two constructors, default one with a public cruise ship signature with nothing in it, and a public one with the maximum passenger as an argument. And of course we have to do this dot maximum passengers equals to maximum passengers, right? Max passengers. All right. And the only thing we need to do here is the access method. I mean the accessor, right? Accessor is going to be what? It's going to be public int get. What do we get in max passengers, right? And we're going to return max passengers. Yeah. So, okay, so now we're done with the second class. Oh, of course, we need the toString method, right? To type in whatever is. Now, look at this toString method. So, toString method. I will not type in to display whatever. You have it. I mean, you can write it out if you have to. But I mean, it says a toString method that overrides the toString method in the base class. Basically what it means, it's the same name for the method. Same method, same return, actually, same return. So you're going to still type the same thing. You're going to still type, here, you're going to still type public string toString. It's the same thing, same signature, right? Method with the same signature, but the different body is going to be called our method override. So it's pretty much the same name, same signature of a method, but the different things it has to do, right? Not different things it has to do, different body inside. So for this one, we're going to return what? It tells us the string method that overrides the following string method base class. This cruise ship class toString method should display only the ship's name and the ship's cargo. This one. Should only display. toString method should display only the ship's name, and the maximum number of passengers. So what we return in here is going to be ship name. Now the question is, where is it grabbing the ship name from? We don't have a ship name in here. We don't have it in here. All we have here is a private int max passengers. It's grabbing the ship name from here. So you see what inheritance does? You don't have to retype this thing over and over and over and over again. You can. The program still will work. But the thing is, with the inheritance, it makes life so easier. You don't have to do this. So all you do is just call it. So ship name plus you want to give it a space, good amount of space, and you want to add plus, what else it says, plus max passenger, sorry. So that completes this. And you can actually, for the beauty of it, you can put a comma in here, actually. Yeah, there. And you can add comma in the first one too, because it will come handy. I already made an assignment, so I know how it prints out at the end. So you created two classes. You created a base class or subclass or parent class. I mean, not subclass, superclass. You created a base class, superclass, or parent class called ship with all these stuff in there. And you created a child class or subclass with all the stuff that was required from a child, right? Now we have to create another child class, which inherits from the superclass, which is a parent class, which is a ship, right? So it's another type of a ship, basically what we're saying to the program. There's another type of a ship, of this ship right here, the first one. There's another type of a ship called cargo ship. So we need to create another file for cargo ship. So let's go and do that. Add the file, call it a cargo ship. Cargo ship, right? So it creates the same thing. It creates the class, and we want to extend it. Extends ship. So we want to grab things from ship class and add our own things to it, right? So in our cargo ship, let's give it some space. In our cargo ship, creating attributes. In here, the only thing we need to create is a field for the cargo capacity in tons, in tonnage. It's an int of type int, right? And a constructor and appropriate accessors and mutators and toString method, right? So to do this again, so we need what? Again, we use private because this is just another child class. Int, what does it say? It has to be maximum number of cargo capacity in tonnage. So we'll do how did I do it in my program? What did I call this? I had a really good name for it. Hold on. I called it cargo capton. Cargo capton. Cargo capton. Okay. So we have only this. Then we need to create our default constructor because you never know which one you're gonna use, right? Default. Because if you only have a custom constructor and you create a new object, right? You want to create a new ship, a cruise ship. It's gonna say, you can't create the blank one. You have to create a custom one that has a name, that has a year built, and that's it. It's not gonna fit anything else. But sometimes you just want to create a ship, or a cruise ship, or a cargo ship with no arguments. So that's why you use the default constructor always in your program. It's not the bothersome. So you just just make it. So you want to create public cargo ship. No arguments. And then custom one. Or argument constructor. Custom would be our public ship. Cargo ship. Cargo ship. And it wants us to have what? It wants us to have well, for right now, cargo capton, right? So we pass it an int cargo cap tone. All right, and we're gonna match it this dot cargo cap tone equals to cargo cap ton. And then they want us to make a accessors and mutators. Did I make the accessor and mutator in this one? Of course I did. Yeah, I did. Okay, so I did get max passengers. Did I do this one? Yes, I did. Now I need to make one in this one. So my accessor would be public int get cargo cap ton. And we return cargo cap ton. All right, and finally we need also a toString method. Alright, so same thing. We're gonna override that toString in the previous class. We're gonna override it, so it has to be overridden. The cargo ships class toString method should display only the ship's name and the ship's cargo capacity. So we display in here, so public string toString and ship's name, right? So return ship's name. Again, where's it grabbing the ship name from? Exactly from the parent class, right? And should display that plus a space with a comma to make it look nice, and yeah, and plus what? Plus ship's cargo capacity, so cargo cap ton. All right, so now that we have our three classes, now we can use it within the program. Now here is the main thing. So now we add another file to the thing, right? And then we create a main class, Java main class. We call this one a ship demo, I think, ship demo. So I call this one ship demo. Okay, so now since the class was given to us, all we have to do is just copy the contents of that, right, to our little program here. So we copy this, we're gonna open it with Notepad, and we copy this portion right here up to here. Let's copy and just paste it in here. All right, so now we think about this. What's going to happen in this main program? What's it going to do? So in this program, we're building an array, and for those people who don't know what array is, it's pretty much like you're building a bookshelf with books on it. So it's one single thing, so you don't have objects flying around or being disorganized, you make them into a actual table, so to speak, right? So one of the top of a collection, it's called collection. So you make a collection of objects to be able to easily manipulate them, because you don't have one ship, you don't have two ships, even, well, you don't have one item, you have multiple items. You have cargo ship, you have a cruise ship, you might have a little boat, you might have a sailboat, you might have multiple things, and you want to manipulate somehow, you want to use it somehow, right? So that makes sense to make them, to put them in the data structure, which is called an array. Now, as I said, think of an array as a bookshelf, and you stuff that bookshelf, or in our case, think of an array as a garage or some kind of storage for the boat storage, or a shore of a certain beach, right? And you have a cruise ship on the shore, you have a cargo ship, and just another type of ship, whatever you want to build, right? So think of it, you have a place somewhere to store those ships. So this is, in this case, is going to be an array. So the way to you declare the array is pretty much you give it a name, the array name. You give it a those kind of brackets, right? And you give it a well, this is how you declare an array in our case, right? You make an array ship of type ship, since you're creating a ship, right? You're making it name it ships, and you set it equals to a new ship array, and in here you give it a number of shelves. So you basically say, okay, this garage for ships is my new garage, and it will store this amount of ships. So in our case, it will store 3 ships, right? So this is why the first thing, the constant thing we create, it's constant, it's not changing, right? So we create a number of ships is going to be 3 ships. So we already know that we have 3 ships. We already have an array of the type ships, which has, we created an object, right? Now we simply have to put in the ships inside this garage, or inside this, or on this shore, right? We have to put a couple ships on it, right? So at 0, since array always starts at 0, right? Count unless you set it otherwise. You start with 0. You go 0, 1, 2, 3, and so forth, right? So this the place 0, the parking spot 0 is going to contain this kind of ship. This parking spot 1 is going to contain this kind of ship, and this parking spot 2 is going to contain this this ship right here. So indexing starts with 0, but you can count as 1, 2, 3. But indexing itself starts with 0. So the computer understands 0 is the first one, 1 is the second one, 2 is the third one. Now, it seems like we created everything correctly, everything by the paper, right? So no mistakes, no errors here. Then why do we have this? And if you point to it in NetBeans, it's going to tell you why. That the constructor is expecting those values to be in there. And our constructors are slightly different. Well, since you know what the main program is going to do. So for the ship 1, it's going to display the name and the year built. So now we go back to our, this is going to be what? A ship, right? So we go back to our ship class and we see what we type in here. We type in the name and the year built, right? So our toString method is going to display those two, right? So constructor is fine. We have our constructors, everything is fine. But the toString method gives out the ship name and the year built, right? We go to the second one. So the second one is going to be our cruise ship. Now, what do we have in our cruise ship? So we go back to the class and we see our cruise ship only has a constructor. Only has a toString method that types in the ship's name and the maximum amount of passengers. but it doesn't give us the other thing that we see in here. So it gives us the ship name, maximum amount of passengers, but it doesn't give us this. And what is this? We know 1998. This is a year built. So should we remove the year built from here? It's gonna work. But since he wants to do a year built here, so in our toString method, we want to add the year built, right? And actually in our, I think in our constructor, we have to add that too, to create that. Let me just try to add a year built to this. So we're going to return ship name. So we have ship name, year built, and then amount of passengers, right? So ship name, we need to add the year built. So let's add the year built after this one. So plus year built. And then we're gonna put our and it's still complaining. So why is it still complaining? It's because our constructor doesn't have those. In this class, our constructor doesn't have those things. So when it makes an object, it makes a cruise ship with the only thing. It makes the car. I'm sorry, not in here. Let's go back. I'm in the wrong class. I'm supposed to be in a cruise ship class. Cruise ship. Right here. So we have a ship name. We have a maximum amount of passengers, but we don't have the year built, right? Since we have it in here in the main program, in the ship demo, we have a year built. So should we remove the year built? Watch. Should we just... Let's see. We just cut it out. Right? Still not gonna work because we still have error within the constructor. If you so it says constructor cruise ship is not applicable. Actual format argument is different in length. So put everything back in here. Now to fix this, what we have to do is go back to our cruise ship and edit the constructor so it constructs exact same object with the name of the ship, with the year built, and with the capacity, right? Or with the amount of passengers. So we go to our cruise ship. We go to the constructor area, which is right in here, this specific constructor, and we add things to it. So we have ship name, so int ship name, int year build, and int max passenger. So we have this. Let's try to squeeze in here. Another space. So we give it this dot ship name equals ship name ship compatible type int cannot be converted to string. I'm sorry, this is not int, this is string. string, and I think this is a string too. So yeah, you have to be careful. So then this dot year built equals to year built and then max amount of passengers is going to be max amount of passengers. Now you go back here, and to our string to string method, you want to type in the string ship name. Then you want to add in the year built, right? So you want to add in year built. Well, space first, right? Space, comma, space. And you want to add in plus year built. Okay, and plus max passenger. Now, if you go to the main program, you're gonna see that line was fixed, right? Because it matches the exact constructor. So these things should match the constructor. Those specific things, those specific arguments that are passed here should match your constructor. So if you see the red line here, you go back and you check your constructor for that specific ship. So cargo ship, what's wrong? Well, let's see. It's bringing out, in our case, we have arguments as a ship name, the year built, and the cargo capacity in tons, right? So we go back and we see what our constructor has. Our constructor, custom one, it has only cargo capacity in tons. So what do we have to do? We have to add into it string ship name. We're going to add into it also year built string. And then string string. All right, and then we have to modify the things right here. This year built. I mean this dot ship name equals ship name. Alright, this dot year build should be matching the year build, and this dot cargo tons should match this one, right? Now we go back to our toString method and modifying the string by adding in the year build. Plus, so we add in the space with a comma, and then we're tapping this. Okay. Plus year build. All right. Ah. What is right? There. So now if we go back to our main program, we see that line is fixed. So now we have no errors and we should be able to run our inherited classes, whatever you want to call it, the program, right? And see what it does. So it says the ship class wasn't found in the ship project. It's gonna fix itself out if you click OK. Boom. Now you have your data. So that completes the whole thing. So the main thing is not to panic that you have the red lines in your main program. You have to carefully analyze what's going on. And since you're creating ships in here, you have to go and match the constructors. You're going to see, because this is actual objects that you're constructing. But since there is no constructor that matched that one, you have to either, what you can do, you don't have to actually edit whatever you've done here. You don't have to edit whatever you've done here. You just create a new constructor we just made this easier. But you didn't have to remove this constructor or remake this constructor. All you have to do, you can leave another constructor as it is, the custom one. You can leave it as it is, as it was written. For example, the cargo ship one, right? So for the cargo ship, we have to make a constructor that only at that point where we worked on the program, we only knew that we have a cargo captain in this one. So you make a custom constructor, which is public public cargo ship, and make it, and only pass it the argument that you know so far that you're gonna use, right? So at that point it was what? At that point it was wait. Public cargo ship. At that point it was only cargo captains, right? So in cargo cap, and then you do this dot cargo captain equals to cargo something missing here is some misspelled. Public cargo ship hold on, cargo ship. So it's public cargo ship something is misspelled here. A public cargo ship. So it is a found it. Ha ha ha. Okay. Wrong set of brackets in here. Alright, so we'll fix this. Alright, so you can have this as a constructor in here. It doesn't really hurt. It doesn't really impair the program. So I didn't have to go and modify the already existing constructor. I just can build a new one. I just could build a new constructor to accommodate that other one that is designed in this program, and see the program will still run with no problem. So if it's required by the program, if you have a main program, you can always look into what is the program giving out, what kind of object is it, and build a completely brand new constructor in here, and just call it, for example, a constructor to accommodate the program, the main program requirements. So pretty much you see an object in the main program that has a cruise ship or cargo ship with different values, with different arguments than your constructor in that class. Just go and create a new constructor You don't have to think, oh, there's something wrong with my constructor. Ooh, how do I change this? How do I? No, there's nothing wrong. You just create a new one. You can create a new one that prints out every single data that is available about the cruise ships. That ships, whatever you want. You want to add a new one, you add a new one. So as a final result, even if you don't have this constructor, it will not hurt it. But if you don't have this constructor, it would basically, the main program will not work because it's not compatible. It's not going to be compatible to what you have in the class. So this is the way you pretty much make all this happen. As a recap, so the first one, we created a cruise, the ship class with just a, basic stuff that was told that was told in the assignment. Then this was the super class, the parent or super class. Then we did a child class, which is subclass, which was one of them was a cruise ship. So we pretty much said, okay, give me in this class whatever the ship class has, plus I want to add my own thing about cruise ship that's specific to only cruise ship. So the cruise ship is going to have a same thing here. You didn't have to create, you can simply create a, you can simply leave that class so that if it's for the professor, you can leave the class that you were assigned to do. Leave the constructor that you were assigned to do, and you were assigned to do a constructor in here that is only showing a what is about the cruise ship. Let's see, cruise ship only has a passengers, right? The amount of passengers. So only has the amount of passengers. So you don't need this, and you don't need all that. So you only have this, right? So now, in our case then, this constructor down below is going to be the one that is a constructor to accommodate the main program requirements. So yeah. Now, when it says only displays, I'm pretty sure you can make another toString, override a toString method that displays the stuff that you need to display, or you can modify the existing one. That was the main thing. That was the main goal of the assignment, that you check and see what's in here and you match your class to it. So here you see that the object contains the arguments than you have in your class. Just make another constructor, and of course you would have to modify the string that you give out in the end. The toString method, you just make another toString method which is going to override that old toString method, and is going to give out the new values when you call it. And now, even with those additions, if you run the program again, it's going to give no problem. It's going to give you the same results. So that's the way you deal with inheritance. Now, when you talk about a polymorphism, this is the polymorphism. This is what it is. You have a ship, right? You have a ship. Ship could be whatever form you want to have it, right? A little boat. You can call it a ship. Now, you created a cruise ship, which is, you've been probably in the cruise ships. You know what cruise ships look like. Huge ships with multiple stories, with, the water park, with a bunch of restaurants and here. So it's a little bit different form of the same object, which is a ship. So now you have a third type of a ship, which is a which is a cargo ship. Now, it's not the cruise ship. It's not going to have that many stores, right? It's not going to have water parks and restaurants. It's going to be different shape, but it's still a ship. So this is what's called a polymorphism, and it's used in programming and makes the code to code easier, so you will not have to retype a completely new class for the, let's say, cruise ship, or completely new class for the cargo ship. You just use polymorphism. You use, it's the same thing. It's a ship, but I can give it a different type. Doesn't really matter. It still will have a ship name. It still will have a year build. So okay, I can use the stuff from that class, extend it to this class, and can add to it for this specific ship. Now, if I create, let's say I create another one. I say yacht. Can I make a class which extends the ship class and call it a yacht? Sure, I could. I just say, okay, class yacht extends ship, which has a ship name and has a year built, right? So I'll not have to give those attributes in there. And for the yacht, for example, I want to say, want to give it a, I don't know, a stateroom size, for example, right? So how many beds are in the stateroom, or amenities, and I can say, okay, what does it have? It has, kitchen, and has, different things, or give it a different arguments in there, different the attributes. Can I make it? Yes. Can I make a ship and say a sailboat? Yeah, I could. So it's going to be a small little. Can I make a canoe? Yes, I can. Right? Can I make a what do they call it with the paddles? Whatever, when two people sit and paddle boat, right? Can I make it a paddle boat? Sure. So this is going to be all different forms of the ship. So hence it's going to be polymorphism. This is what polymorphism is. So inheritance, polymorphism, here we go. So hopefully my lecture was, consistent, and hopefully you guys are clear on what is inheritance, how it works, and how you can use inherited classes and use it within the main program. So see you guys later, and this was Stan from the Standing G Tech channel, and stay tuned for more videos. Subscribe, leave a comment, and don't forget to click notification bell so you can see new videos when they come out. Thank you, and have a nice day.